All right, everybody. Hey, let me hit the record button here.
It's Hunt and then Zicker. Huntzicker.
Okay, cool. Guys, hopefully this is working. We'll find out. Joe McCall here. This is the Real Estate Investing Mastery Podcast. Got a special guest over here. His name is Jim Huntzicker. Did I say that right?
You did. Yeah. Thanks, Joe.
Nice. And on this podcast, guys, we're going to be talking about how he just made $1 million profit on an apartment that he just flipped. And we're going to be talking about how he did that. Now, some of you may be intimidated, like, oh, apartments, check, I'm out of here. Or you might think $1 million profit, I don't believe it, BS, I'm out of here. But stay tuned because you're going to learn some really cool tips and tricks and how, even if you're a beginning investor, how you can find these deals, how you can find people to partner with them, and how you can do this too. Jim's nothing special. I mean, he's a good-looking guy. He's done a lot of deals, right? But we're not going to talk about his favorite baseball team because it doesn't matter.
Joe and I agreed to disagree on baseball. We really like each other, but we agreed to disagree on baseball teams.
Yeah. Even though he likes that other baseball team, we're not going to talk about who they are because they're horrible. But he's still doing these big deals. So we're going to be talking about how he made over $1 million on this apartment that he flipped. Insane. And it wasn't even where he lives. It was in another state. So I'm going to ask Jim a lot of questions about this. If you guys want the show notes of this podcast, go to realestateinvestingmastery.com, realestateinvestingmastery.com, and you can get the show notes and the links and the transcriptions and all of that stuff. And you can get more information about Jim. Now, some of you are wondering, where am I? Because this isn't my normal place. I'm actually in the living room of our carriage house. So I don't know how bad the audio is. I'm using this little mic here. It's a lapel mic. So hopefully you guys can hear me okay. Jim, you can hear me all right?
Yeah, it sounds great.
All right. So we're just going to go for it. My office upstairs is being remodeled and it's a disaster right now. So that's why I'm down here. But glad that you're on the show, on the podcast, Jim. How are you doing?
Good. And thank you for having me on, Joe. I appreciate it, man.
I interviewed you on the podcast, probably 3-4 years ago, talking about how to find deals on the MLS.
Yep.
And so you've been an active investor. Tell us where you live, where you're from, and where you do most of your deals and all that good stuff.
Sure. I'm out of Chicago, suburban Chicago. It's where I've always worked. It's where I started in residential real estate in 2005. And I stayed in residential until about 2013 when I started studying. I wanted to know more about multifamily, but there's so many facets of it. It's a little intimidating, and so it's,
yeah, it
but,
is.
But, so I started studying and learning from a lot of people who, just like I did, I didn't reinvent the wheel on this, just like anybody listening. If you're new, you shouldn't either. I went and studied people who are very successful at this. And I learned everything there was. I studied for years, literally 3 years. I studied commercial, multifamily, office deals, just learning the ins and the outs of the deal structures, what's possible, how you can finance them, is there traditional loans? Do you use private lenders? Do you use a combination of the two, which is exactly what we do? And so a lot of these deals we're buying with none of my money down. And so it's but it took a long time. It wasn't a quick road to get there, because then once you even get there and you have the knowledge, then you got to pull the trigger. And then now you're in the deal. And that's a hard part too, because we're not talking about, $50,000, single family houses. I mean, the first deal I bought was over $1 million, and so it is a little intimidating. And so, but I felt comfortable doing it because I had studied so much prior to that, and just like when I got into residential, same thing. I started kind of doing it on my own, realizing, well, I don't know enough at all. And that's why I got most of my deals out of the MLS originally, because that's all I knew, and then I started studying, learning more about those private seller marketing. And that was like 07, 08. I started really getting into, different marketing, but I still got most of my deals till 2013, like 70-75% out of the MLS. And it's still possible today, by the way. Residential, I don't focus on anymore at all. In fact, I have one residential deal that I'm selling, and that'll be it for a while, probably, maybe forever, because my direction of my business now is into multifamily, commercial, office, and industrial.
Nice. Okay. So I do have to share my screen with you. Okay. Can I share my screen with you?
Sure, absolutely.
All right. This is the baseball standings here.
Oh, boy.
Let's go look to see who's in first place in the NL Central right now.
I see. I do see. I noticed that. Yes. It's very good.
Yeah.
We had a rough start, though. I'm proud of where we've come from where we started. We've done well recently, but I do see the numbers, and it's glaring, Joe. It's glaring.
Okay, I just wanted to show you and let you know.
In case you guys listening didn't know, Joe is obviously a Cardinals fan, and clearly I'm a Cubs fan.
And it's a great rivalry, right?
Yeah, no, it's a lot of fun.
I love Chicago. Chicago's a great city. But I live in St. Louis, and I've been here since 2002. And my dad was actually a Cubs fan. Was born and raised in Lake Bluff, Illinois, which is
right by me. That's 20 minutes from me right now.
It's beautiful. I love Chicago. I love going there. But I'm a Cardinals fan through and through. Okay, so sorry about that. Let's get back on track.
That's between Joe and I. Now you guys know about it too.
Okay. Anyway, you're not doing residential. You're doing multifamilies now. So talk about why are you not doing residential anymore?
Well, I think it's the wrong market for it. I've been doing. I'm in suburban Chicago. My office is in Schaumburg, and I was buying my average rehab. I've done over 500 deals, and my average rehab was about $80,000. These are 2,500 square foot houses, and my purchase price, my entry level purchase price was about 2.25. And I was selling these things from between 4 and 5, most of my stuff, and so they're just bigger deals, and there's a lot of more money involved. I wasn't doing $20,000 flips, and so the market just changed, and the deals got not harder to buy because I can still find them, but I got to pay more than I want to, and the margins just got slimmer. And this is just the wrong market for what I was doing for years and years. It's no longer the right market for it anymore. And I'm not saying I won't do it again. Right now, I'm done with residential. I'm not saying in 5 years, if the market takes a dip and it makes sense again, I won't be in there again. But for now, I had been studying commercial because I just I'd always had an interest in apartments. And so once I learned enough, pull the trigger, now I'm full on in. And all I want to do is buy as much as I can. And I have a ton of money behind me to buy it. It's not just even private money. We have funds that are coming in these deals. And so literally hundreds of millions of dollars I have to deploy on multifamily right now.
Oh,
well, I'm in it. Cool. I found the right lending sources. Once I proved my model, these guys were like, all right, go spend our money. So that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to buy as much multifamily as I can right now. And it's all value add. I don't want anything that's, stabilized and in good condition. And that's fine for, like a fund to buy or a REIT, but that's not what I want. I only want value add stuff. That's what I'm looking for. I'll give you an example. I got one under contract right now. It's 160 units. I'm sorry, that one's 140 units. And it is, it's been vacant for like 4 or 5 years. It's brick, but it needs about $4 million in renovation.
The whole apartment building has been vacant for how many years?
Yeah, it's actually like 14 buildings on 6 acres. And it's been vacant for a long time. It just got run, and it's almost condemnable. But since it's brick, it is salvageable. And so I went through with the contractor who's done about 10 jobs this big. Is obviously a big national contractor that knows what he's doing. And yeah, we can get this done for about 3.5. And I figure with the crap stuff that's going to come up, it's going to be about a $4 million job. And in the end, but we'll be into it for $5 million total. In the low end, on the low end, it'll be worth 7.7 million. So we'll create that equity spread on that deal, about, a little over 2.5 million, and keep it. And again, that is on the low end. And it's funny with this particular property, because it is vacant, we're actually going to turn it into a 55 and older. Not like assisted living by any means, just 55 and older, because those people come in, they're quiet, they keep to themselves, they don't trash your place, they pay, and they don't leave, because they like a nice clean place. So we're going to rehab all these things, put granite in them. And, so because it's vacant, we have an opportunity there. So, I mean, that's a huge deal. But another one I'm rehabbing right now is a 105 unit. The 105 unit, we bought for 2.2, needs about $1.3 million. And so that one will be into it for, 3.5, and it should be worth in the end at about 6.3 is what that one will be worth. So we're creating pretty large equity spreads on these things. And the great part is we're able to pull out, our end loan, we're refinancing at 80% and pulling out the equity. And the equity is not taxable because it's just your equity. It's not income. You created equity and it's now yours to pull out tax-free. So that's part of it too. So all the partners in the deal, if we pull out an extra $800,000, just bonus money, we all take a piece of that, and then we just rent the place for the cash flow ongoing. These are long-term deals that I'm doing. So
you've come a long way since we talked before on the podcast. You went from doing houses, and that's one of the great things I love about real estate is because the market shifted, you were able to shift with it and be flexible with your strategies. There's certain times of the market cycles that go up and down where maybe foreclosures are the best things, the easiest things to do on the MLS, and then that dries up. Then it's doing short sales and that dries up, or maybe it's buy and hold rentals, or maybe it's wholesaling, maybe it's lease options, owner financing, retail. So there's, depending on what direction the market is going, there's different things that you can do. And if you're smart, and one of my favorite books is Who Moved My Cheese, or Who Moved the Cheese, or something.
Yeah. I love that book.
And it's about just being aware of where the cheese is going and not being so dogmatic and stuck in your ways. You don't adjust, but you're always looking for new opportunities in a smart way. But how did you, Jim, go from because, houses are kind of relatively simple and easy, to these big complex apartments how did you make that shift and start focusing on that?
Well, I always had an interest in apartments. I wanted to own apartments, and I'm in Chicago. And this is the last place you want to own apartments, or really even rental properties for that matter. We have the rent rules in my market, in Cook County specifically, which is where Chicago is, and I'm in the burbs, but I'm still in Cook County, is ridiculously favored in the tenant. So they can, if they know what they're doing, they can live in your property. They can stop paying you and live there for 6 months for free, and there's nothing you can do about it. And the judge will allow them to do it. And now that's never happened to me. I've had people stay there for a few months, and that was, annoying because I still have payments on my rental properties. And so I got to about 14 properties here, and I'm like, this isn't working for me. It's taking a long time. There's a lot of, one. And so I bought a couple of duplexes, and I bought a 4-unit, all here still in Chicago. And it just wasn't driving the needle for me. It was like, this is just taking too long. I'm like, I just want to buy 100 at a time. And so that's when I really started to research multifamily and the ins and the outs of it. I mean, I didn't know anything about it other than I wanted to do it. So I started studying and paying attention to the right people. And you hang around the right people and you ask the right questions, you're going to learn the right stuff. And I've paid for education, which I do every year. I mean, masterminds, and I listen to podcasts, and I go to masterminds and I pick people's brains who I know what I want to know. And I have information, so we share information with each other, and it's win-win. That's how I did it. I just did a lot of research. I wanted it. So I went out and figured it out, and so that's what happened. I knew residential wasn't going to last forever. And I was kind of annoyed by it because as the market got better, the margins went down for a couple of reasons. And the contractors, there's a shortage. Anybody who rehabs know there's not enough contractors. So it's like you get a bid from one, maybe in 2 to 4 weeks, depending on how busy they are. And the number is based on how bad they want to do the work. And you can tell, these are contractors I've used before. I'm getting bids double what I expected. They're like, well, we're busy. And so okay, well, obviously you just don't want the work. And so that happened to me enough times where I was done. So I really went full force with commercial a couple of years ago because of that. And I'm a pretty aggressive individual. And once I put my mind to something, I just put my head down and started doing it. And I learned enough where I felt comfortable. First couple of deals, I was still nervous, because it's like, well, this is $1 billion property that I'm about to put my name on, and I got to make this work. So, I mean, the $1 million profit we'll talk about here in a second. That's not to brag. That just happened. We got a really, really good deal. I met somebody at a mastermind at lunch. That's how I got that deal. And they were a partner on it. They didn't know how to do the deal. They didn't know how to take it down. And I did. And I brought the financing to the table. And well, it wasn't even an easy deal. We thought it was going to be a 3-month flip. But the first buyers backed out the week of the closing, threatened us, sued us. They turned out to be attorneys. So they scared the title company. The title company gave them their deposit back, which they had no business doing. Oh, yeah. We're like, wait, what did you just do? They're like, well, you have to sign off. I'm like, I'm not signing off on anything. I said, it's our money. It's hard. And anyway, there was a whole debacle in itself. Then we found the second buyer. So this was a 3-month flip. I didn't say that. It took 19 months. 3-month flip that took 19 months. And the second buyer, I mean, this is ridiculous. I felt terrible, but the second buyer lost $200,000 in non-refundable deposit because they couldn't perform. And this asset was losing money. So it's not like that was bonus money for us. We were having to pay for our loan, debt service with that money. And we ended up putting we kept it longer than we expected. So we ended up putting $40,000 in to fix the lowest hanging fruit to get the rent roll up just a little bit. But we're still only talking about this thing being at 45% occupancy max. That's all it ever got to. And we were able, we bought it for $1,250,000. We put only $40,000 into it. All that $200,000 that was lost didn't go to waste. We were able to keep some of that. But in the end, we sold it for 2.3 million in current condition. It still needed a complete rehab. The 40,000 we put in was just to get a couple units rentable. That's it. We didn't really fix it up per se. And we were able to sell it for 2.3. And we sold it, a couple of times. It was just a matter of then in the end, the third buyer, we were vetting the buyer very strongly because the first one screwed us. Second one, I'm not sure what happened there. I feel terrible for those people because they lost a bunch of money, but nothing we could do. That's business, and the deal didn't go their way, and we legally were able to keep the money. And so the third buyer, we took about 6 months to accept an offer from it. We had multiple buyers, but we just didn't feel they were the right ones. And so we finally found the right one, took it, and it took about, 70 days from the day we accepted his, put the offer together till we were able to close. And the total profit on it was $1,060,000. It was obviously fantastic. We were very pleased with that, but those deals are all over the place. All that was a property that was under-maintained forever, undermanaged. It was kind of a slumlord situation where it was just not great. None of the tenants were happy. They actually, get this, in their lease, it said their rent payment is so low. Like they're saying, we give reduced rents because you're expected to do the maintenance on your own apartment. That's really what it said. So how good are the tenants going to do maintenance on their own apartment? Terribly. So the maintenance on these, it was ridiculous. Stuff was in shambles. And so, but that's what we're looking for. The stuff that's under-maintained, under-managed, whatever it is, it just needs a bunch of work. Like I said, one we're putting in, it's $1 million. We're buying it for $1 million, putting $4 million into it. We're going to be into the thing for $5 million, and $4 million of that is rehab cost. And, but that's how that deal went down. I was at a mastermind. Somebody sat at my table, got to talking. They had this deal. I'm like, that sounds like a pretty good deal. Like, why don't you email me the details on that so I can do a little. And as soon as I saw it, I'm like, I'm in. Like it was a great deal, and it turned out to be a really good one. They're all not going to be home runs like that, but those home runs are out there all over the place. You just gotta we got to find more deals.
There's a great marketing tactic. It's called flap your lips. And sometimes that's the best way to find deals. Flap your lips. Get out there to the networking events, masterminds, local RIAs, whatever, and start talking to people and just finding out what they do. And, one of the reasons why we're doing this podcast is talking about these deals, because maybe somebody who's got an apartment like this can bring it to you and say, hey, I don't know what to do with this. What do I do? Let me rewind a little bit more. What were some of the books that you read, or maybe some of the courses that you bought to learn about commercial real estate and apartments?
Well, there's so many out there, but I'm not a huge reader as much as I could show you a couple hundred books over here on my shelf, all of which I intend to read at some point. But I'm kind of an ADD type, personality, and I run pretty fast. And reading, I can get through books and I don't remember a lot of what I read. So one day when I slow down, maybe I'll read some more books. But it was more networking and talking to the right people and absorbing information and reviewing deals and talking to people about their deals. And this is just like high level people that have been doing this. And like Tim Bratz is a guy who's killing it right now in multifamily. And I went to his event a couple of years ago when his first one that he had, and I talked to him a lot, and I learned a ton there. He's a wealth of information, that guy. And I went to others like Tim that some people that you would never even heard of, but they're killing it in multifamily. They're not like people that attend events. They're not people you would ever know. They're just people. One guy owns 6,000 units that I obviously picked his brain a lot. You've never heard of this guy, and he doesn't want me to say who he is because that's not what he does. He just owns apartments, And so I through networking, through RIAs, through masterminds, I would ask, and so I got to people, and I wasn't looking for the gurus at all. Not that I was opposed to that, because Tim is teaching out there, and Tim does a great job. But I want the guys that this is just all they do. They're not looking for notoriety. All they're doing is they're grinders. They just do deals. They put deals together. They rehab units and they keep them. And so I actually got to people. My goal was to get to people that didn't have any kind of status at all, that were just badasses that had, thousands and thousands of units. That's who I wanted to talk to, because that's who I want to be. It's my goal to have 5,000 doors by 2030. And so I wanted to talk to guys who had that many doors, because I'm not, if we talk to guys that have 1,000 doors, well, they're on my way, but I want to talk to the guy that has 6,000 doors, because that's the guy I want to emulate. And that's the guy that I want to be like. And so that's what I did. I got to the people that didn't want to be gotten to. And I talked to them, and that's where I learned the most, because those are the best people, because you could get, and they like to talk. They don't want to be a public figure in any way, but they're usually great people. If they've done that well in business, they're happy to talk to you about it, and take them a coffee and offer if I can help them in any way. Can I do something for you for free? Just because I'd love to take you to lunch, And so that's something, a new person, there's so much value if you can offer just even your time to somebody like that. Like I can do, like, if you're just beginning and you don't know what to do, offer doing paperwork in their office for free. Who cares? If you're around that environment, you're going to learn so much. And so, I mean, I at the point I wasn't willing to do like the paperwork stuff, but still sitting down with these guys, it wasn't as hard. I mean, just have to ask. All I did was ask, and not everybody said yes, but enough people said yes that I was able to get my information that I needed. And here I am, full steam ahead, buying as much as I can.
What if you just found one of these guys that has 5,000 doors and say, look, are you looking for more deals? I will go and drive by all of these apartments in whatever target area you're looking for. I'll go spend a couple of days driving, and I'll write down addresses. I'll go to the front office, find out who the owners are and the management, and I'll start making phone calls, and I'll start doing marketing for you. I'll be your bird dog trying to find these properties. Who would say no to that, right?
Nobody.
No to that.
Nobody. And if anybody wants to do that for me, I'm completely open to it. It's part of why I'm doing podcasts, because I'm trying to meet local operators that don't know how to take down the deals that they find, or can't get them financed. We can get them financed at no problem. We come in with systems. We come in with the rehab team. We come in, and you stay in the deal. We want the local operator, the guy who brings us the deal. We want you to stay in the deal as a partner. And so it's not like you bring the deal and we squeeze you out with a wholesale fee or something. That's not what I'm doing. That's not. We're meeting people that actually want to stay in the deals. They don't know how to do it. They like me. When I started, I had an interest in multifamily. I didn't know what to do or where to go with it. I didn't have any deals either. And if I did have a deal, I wouldn't have known what to do with it. So now that I do know, and I have the money behind me to buy them, I'm out here trying to help people like me when I got started, because I was scared. I mean, I did, like, I would, 4 years ago, I would not have, 5 years ago, I would not have bought $1 million multifamily, because I had no clue. I was just starting to study it back then. So there's no way I would have pulled the trigger on it, because that's not wise to do. I mean, the business, I mean, it's all a risk, but even the stuff we know is a calculated risk, but you win some, you lose some. The idea is you win more than you lose, and you'll do okay. Nobody wants to lose, but the reality of business is that happens sometimes, and so, especially in multifamily, that yes, the profits can be bigger, but the losses can be bigger too. So you gotta, really gotta watch it. And so that's why I'm here. I'm trying to meet local operators that just don't know what to do. They want these deals, they have them in their market, and they just don't know how to take them down and don't know how to finance them.
So this deal that you made $1 million on, that was your net profit.
Yeah, $1,060,000 was legit net. I mean, I got HUD to back it up. Net $1,060,000.
You got Uncle Sam to pay, of course.
Yeah. Well, we had partners, so the whole thing wasn't mine, because there was partners on the deal. Yeah. The total profit from the deal was $1,060,000 divided down, but still, that's a legit, real. I'm not talking about it on the public airways, looking for the FCC to come after me because I didn't do it. So we had HUDs to back all that up, and it was one of those deals. We didn't know how good it was. In fact, originally we thought it was $1,700,000. That's what we thought when we got it for $1,250,000. We thought we can get this thing for like $1 million, like we can make $500,000 on it, is what we thought, $1 million. And as we got into it, the first buyer was not interested at $1,700,000. Actually, it was a bigger player in the apartment world, and he was at $1,700,000, was not interested in it. And we were like, oh no, we kind of were worried there. And then the next buyer came in, and we had them at 2.5. So shockingly, we were like scared to death, because oh my God, $1,700,000. Some big player didn't want it. We put it back out there to a couple of people we knew, and all of a sudden we get somebody at, a lot more. That buyer backed out. We had somebody at 2.4. Then we ended up at 2.3 is what we sold it for. And again, not putting much into it at all.
Now this property you're in Illinois. This was in Oklahoma. Is that right?
Yeah, correct. I'm a very intense individual, and I've realized like just how I do everything is I kind of attack it. And if I do stuff here, I'm going to be involved. Like I'm going to be there more than I need to be. And what I realized about myself is because I do deals all over the country now, and it's made my life a lot easier, and I get more time with my family because I can't be there. I have to be resourceful and figure out how to do these things. And so it's actually been great. I did it by design after I realized I had to, because I didn't want to be as involved in the businesses and the way that I'm wired and just things. I'm a doer, I get stuff done, and I still do, but now I just have to be more creative with how I get it done because I can't be there all the time. But like I'm in Oklahoma every other week. I mean, every 2 weeks I'm there.
Okay, good. So I got a couple questions. I want to ask you, like, how can people go and find these deals and bring them to guys like you? Number one. But the other thing I want to ask you is about the risks involved. Like, some people may say, "Oh, it sounds too good to be true," but there is some risk involved with big commercial properties.
Oh yeah.
People wonder too, like, is it too late? Have I missed the apartment wave? What would you say to those folks? Think it's too late or think it's too risky?
There's always opportunity. There's always, because a lot of the best deals in multifamily that we've found, the best deals are with local one-off operators that got some money 30 years ago. They built an apartment complex. They weren't actual true operators. They were good people. They just didn't know how to run it, and they weren't putting the money back into it. They were just taking everything out. The rents aren't high enough, just improperly maintained and managed forever. And those are all over the place. They are all, and after 30 years, all this deferred maintenance that has not been done, it needs to get done now. These things need roofs. And these people can't afford to do it because they've been that's been their income, and there's no extra money there. So they are selling them because they can't afford to. The deferred maintenance is so bad now, they need to sell them. And so those are the deals we're looking for. There's 12 buildings, and 6 of them need roofs, and it's going to cost $500,000 to redo all of the roofs on them. So a lot of the stuff that a lot of people that are bringing us deals, it's drive-bys. It's stuff they just are aware of. You can find out who owns them. There's CoStar. There's several different ways you can pull up who the owner is. And if you don't know how to do that, call me. I'm going to give you my information at the end of this. Call me, email me. I'll find out who owns it. I'll get you in touch with them. You start talking to them. We want local operators. So if you're calling me, don't worry if you don't have the deal under contract. I don't care. Like, I need people like you to grow this business. And so I'm not looking to squeeze anybody out. If you don't know how to do it, that's why I'm here. I'm going to help you with that. If you don't know how to contact them, I'll help you with that too. But if you have a deal you think is just beat up and it looks like it's 50% occupied, 70% occupied, and it needs a lot of work, that's what we're looking for. So drive-by stuff, if it's just something in your local area that there's an opportunity there because it's just under-maintained, those people, a lot of are talking about selling, thinking about selling, they have for a while. If they have somebody contact them with a cash offer, they can close within 30, 45 days and get them out of this problem because they have 6 roofs that need to be replaced. They're going to be very interested in talking to somebody like that. And so we make them, we're paying as much as we can for them. And these, every offer we've had, we're on properties like this. When people come to us, they're very receptive. Not every time we buy it, of course, but they at least are open to the conversation.
Yeah, that's good.
Because they know it's under-maintained. They know it needs a lot of money.
What about the risk involved with owning commercial properties? What are some of the risks involved, and how do you avoid them?
Insurance, one. I mean, I'm never underinsured. That's for sure. On everything that I own, I'm overinsured. Just because I think that, especially in commercial, there's so many stuff. I mean, you got to worry about, people having, assault and battery is a separate kind of insurance on your property that you may or may not be able to get. Meaning if nothing to do with you, if there's an assault and battery on your property and they want to sue you because the assault and battery happened on your property and you don't have coverage for that, guess what? You're SOL. So you got to make sure that the risks are knowing the proper insurance to have. And that's something I did research for about 7 months on its own, because the policies are so extensive that in Oklahoma, it's a whole nother world, because in Oklahoma, I own a couple. So that's why I keep referring to Oklahoma, but their insurance there, because of the weather, like they have, extreme wind, hail, is extremely expensive, because the way they explain it is you're basically financing your roof and siding. It's going to get done in 10 to 12 years because of a major storm. That's just a fact. So the insurance there is astronomical, but the way that it was explained so that I could sleep at night is that you're financing the cost because it's going to be replaced soon. Because otherwise I was like, what is going on? I'm like, it's over double what I expected. I mean, way over double what I expected. And, but it's just the way it is. I mean, there's only 2 major carriers that'll insure out there that are good. One's Lloyd's of London, and that's who we have. Because that's who's willing to insure that kind of product. When they're stabilized, it's a different story. There's a couple more carriers that you can take on, but it's still not cheap because of and that's just unique to Oklahoma. But either way, having the right insurance and just making sure you have all your ducks in a row. I mean, you're buying a, whatever these are, 1 million, 2, 3. I mean, that by the way, I don't know what we said, the $1 million profit that I sold it for 2.3. It wasn't like it was a $10 million sale. That was bought for $1,250,000 and sold for 2.3. So it wasn't a crazy big, that was it was a home run. There's no doubt. Yeah. I don't expect to make every deal, every flip like that. That's why we didn't keep that one, by the way. We knew there was such an opportunity to flip it and blow out a chunk right now. That's why we didn't keep that one. Everything else I'm keeping. I don't want to flip them. If flipping makes it just like the reason I got out of residential, it just wasn't the right time anymore. So most of the time flipping them is not going to be right because I want to keep everything and hold it for long-term cash flow. That particular asset, obviously we made $1 million flipping it. It made sense to do.
Nice.
But
okay.
Yeah, but the risks are, I mean, they're bigger deals. There's more money. There is more risk, plain and simple. Mitigating that risk is being educated.
Yeah. And partnering with somebody who's been there, done that, I think will help a lot.
No, right? Exactly. And that's what I did at the beginning. And that's why I'm here. I mean, I realized that there's a need for that in the market.
Are multifamilies recession proof? So if the market goes back into a recession, how do you protect yourself in those cases?
Well, I mean, in many cases, when the market dependent, most time when there's a recession, the rental market stays very stable. And so, I mean, a B class asset may become a C class asset during that, but that's okay. You're still renting a C class asset. You may lose a little bit as far as what you can charge, but if you have an A class, it becomes a B. But either way, people still need to rent. In fact, more people need to rent during a recession because a lot of people are losing houses. So no, that's also why I went into it. I mean, I was buying them one off because I wanted as many rental properties as possible. I transferred to apartments because I realized how stable it is. Even if the economy tanks, that's not something that goes under. In fact, if anything, your rents can go up depending on your market. So no, I love it. I don't want to call it recession proof, but it's very close to recession proof because that more renters come out when there is a recession. So that's why I went full on into it.
Yeah, good. All right. So can you talk about real quickly here, how can somebody bring you a deal? Like, how can they go out and look for deals? Is it just driving for dollars? Can they do direct mail? Can they do Facebook ads, or how can they find deals?
All of that. I mean, it's driving is how people are actually finding most of the stuff they bring us because they're familiar with the market that they're in. And they're like, I talked to this owner. I couldn't really get a deal done. Well, get me in contact with the owner. If there's a deal to get done, we'll get it done. And then we'll partner you, bring you in the deal, and you'll be a partner on the deal. But yeah, I mean, direct mail is not as effective because it's kind of a different market. Not that it's not effective, but it's not something we do. We do actually, we search for specific assets, and we will actually send them local gift baskets. It's just introduce ourselves. Hey, we're local operators here. We want to meet the other local operators. And we don't make them an offer saying we want to buy it. All we let them know is we buy distressed commercial assets, and we think we need a network and we'd love to talk to you, just because we're other operators. That's all we say. So there's no sale. We want to buy it because we don't want to put them in a position where they're on the defense. We're just trying to meet other operators in markets that we're in. And so that's been very effective too. It's a very, very nonchalant approach. It's kind of under the radar. We're just like, hey, let's be friends kind of thing, and let's talk. Let's network. We both own apartments. And go from there. And then you're building rapport with them in the when you talk to them, you try to meet them if it's something you think is a good fit, and that's extremely, extremely effective. Just befriending them, because we're both multifamily people like that. So if you're don't own any yet, that'd be a little more difficult. But still, like that, those approaches where we're not just straight up like postcards where you're saying, we buy houses cash. That does not work for this. It's usually a little bit more of a sophisticated seller here. And, even if they're not, the we buy houses cash stuff is not going to work for multifamily. So you have to send something with a little more creativity. And so that's why we're not even asking about a sale. We're just trying to meet them and say, hi, that's it. When we let them know we buy as much multifamily as possible. If you know of anybody that's selling a multifamily, we don't ask for theirs directly, we don't, there is a very soft sales approach to coming in where it's not awkward because we're not asking to buy their thing. We just want to talk. That's all. And that's very, very effective.
Yeah. I like that.
The gift baskets are very good too, though. Like with local product stuff, that's good.
Yeah. Okay. So are you buying, are you mainly focusing right now on underperforming apartment buildings?
Yes. I'm about to buy an office complex in my own market, shockingly, because the taxes are outrageous. in Cook County, commercial taxes on a building that's worth 2.5 million are $250,000 a year. I'm not kidding. But the deal makes sense. The deal, I'm not going to go through that deal, but that deal does make sense because there's a value add opportunity there, and it's in a it's an A-class asset. But yeah, I'm going to buy for 2.5, and the taxes are 250,000 a year. It's outrageous, but the numbers still work, believe it or not.
All right. So if somebody finds a deal, or they're just talking to somebody, they find somebody who knows somebody who's got an apartment building that needs a lot of work, that's the kind of apartment building you're interested in.
Yeah, absolutely. The more work, the better. The more value add, the better. But if something's 70% and there's an opportunity to just stabilize rents, the rents are too low because that's stuff we buy too. I want the more value add, the better. But if there's a restabilization play, just because it's not being, they're not charging enough because they've owned it for 30 years. Excuse me, they're a lot of touch. There's an opportunity there too. So that's on the opposite end of what what our target is, but we'll buy that stuff too. Ideally, the more value add, the better. The more work it needs is what we're really looking for.
Doesn't matter if it's in the city or out in the country.
Nope. No, as long as the numbers make sense. I mean, there's got to be a market for rental. We're going to do a rental analysis wherever it is to make sure that there is a market for the rentals for what this product is. But as long as there's a market for it, absolutely, we're in.
Talk about the numbers a little bit. What are numbers that you're looking for in terms of cap rate and occupancy or whatever that makes?
Well, the occupancy is not, I'm buying one that's vacant, right? And so I bought other ones at 40% occupancy, which were just like basically drug dealers living there at that point because they were in shambles. And so we go in, we get all the riffraff out, which brings it down to like 20% occupancy. And then we got to get back up slowly, which is very difficult because usually they're still crappy, but you got to bring in money because you have a debt service to pay. So it's kind of there's a bit of a balance. And a lot of times on the loans, we have to take out extra money at the beginning to pay the debt service because we don't have enough, and so how you structure the loans is part of all this. And so we have one right now that's losing $20,000 a month. Because we can't restabilize it because we're rehabbing all of the units that are occupiable, so we have to get those done, and then we're slowly starting to fill them, and then that will go away very quickly. But what was the question again as far as
the numbers, like what cap rates and things like that?
Cap rate, that's also market dependent. I mean, we work off of an 8% cap rate because that's pretty common, in most markets. If the value can be an 8 cap from our end loan standpoint. That's all I care about because we're keeping these. So all I care about is what the lender is going to look at and value the asset. And they value it strictly at that point on if the asset is stabilized, they value it strictly on cap rate. And so whatever in that market, 8 is a good number to use. It's fair. So some will be 10, some are 6, some are 3. If you go to Seattle, like I don't invest in Seattle. If you have something in Seattle, not for me, because 3% is not going to do it. That's more for the overseas investors that are parking money for whatever reason. But 8%, 9, 10, that's more where we are. But 8's pretty common. And so we run most of our valuations at an 8 cap because that's what the lenders that will give us the end loan, they're going to evaluate it based on the cash flow at 90% occupancy or 95. If you can keep it there for 3 months, whatever you can keep for 3 months, 90 or 95, they will lend to you at 80% of what that is at an 8 cap. It can be very, very lucrative. And we cash out the difference. We take it, as non-taxable. It's not income, just equity. And that's just bonus money. And then we pay, with the cash flow from the deal, we pay the loan and we take the rest ongoing forever. It's a pretty good thing. I mean, I studied for a long time. And what's funny is now that I'm in it, it's very similar to what I've done for years and years and years. The numbers are just bigger. There's more zeros. It is more risk. There's no doubt, but it's less work, believe it or not. I mean, I'm shocked by it. At first I was. I'm not anymore. Now I'm pleasantly surprised. But it's no more work than doing. In fact, like a single family flip here in my market, I put so much more time into one of those than I did even to an apartment flip right now. I mean, it's crazy, but it's true because I'm doing them outside of my market. So I can't be as involved and I have to be more creative. And so they're actually easier deals. I mean, they're riskier, but they're easier. They're less of my time. It's wild, but it's true. So that's what studying and learning a craft very well before you jump into it. That's what it can do for you. And you should not jump into multifamily. I mean, not even a little, if you do not know the ins and the outs, the financing, the cap rates, the insurance. I mean, there's so many moving parts that go with this. The right stuff to put in. If you're buying 100 lights, are you buying it from Menards? Because you should be buying it from a wholesaler. We can get it for a third of the cost for the exact same light. And like where you're ordering all your stuff. I mean, we just ordered $50,000 in life-proof flooring that'll cover the entire complex. That would have been $90,000 if we went to Lowe's, but we got it from or Home Depot. We got it from Home Depot's wholesale division, for $50. So you just got to know where to buy these products, so you're not paying full retail or close to that, because you can get it when you're buying in that bulk buying anything in bulk. You can get it for 75% less than retail in many cases. I mean, it's significant.
Nice. All right. So Jim, talk to the beginning investor out there who may be a little intimidated with multifamily, and how can they get started? How can they go find a deal and bring it to you and learn the ropes from somebody who's already doing it? That sounds like a brilliant idea to me, right? Why you have to go reinvent the wheel, partner with somebody who's already doing that deals and learn how to do it from them.
And learn, and then go out on your own. I'm not like, just because somebody brings me a deal, like we partner on one, maybe two, and you learn it, and then you go out on your own. You're not going to offend me. Like, I get that's the way. That's what I've done. I partner with people, I learn, and then after I didn't need to anymore, what I'm doing now, I'm doing it on my own. And so I don't expect people to stay with me forever. I mean, you're more than welcome. Hey, the more deals, the better for everybody. But how to find the deals and bring them to me. I mean, like, you just email me. By the way, you can call me. I'll give you my number. I'll give you my email here. And call me, email me the deal. If you have any questions on it, email me everything you know about the deal, and we'll analyze it. I will tell you this, that your entire goal with multifamily or commercial, when you're evaluating it, you should be trying to kill the deal. Every single deal, your goal is to kill it. If you can't kill it, it's a deal. But your goal is you're looking at the numbers, trying to kill it, because most of the deals you will kill. Most deals are not deals. So if you evaluate 100, you might be able to buy 2 of those. So just know that this is not something you're going to see 6 deals and buy 2 of. You might have to look at 50, 60 deals, because you're going to say no to a lot. I'm not saying it's going to be 2%, but it's not high. It's not 10% either. So just don't think that the problem that when people have been bringing me deals, and they're all excited about it, and they have one deal, and it's the first deal they've ever brought, and they think it's a deal, and they want to do it so badly. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, it's not even close to a deal that we can do, at least not at the price that they want, not right now. So we can put an LOI together, which is a letter of intent, and give it to the seller and say, here's what the terms we are willing to do, which, you want $5 million, we can pay $3 million. Now, the odds are that's not going to come together, but that doesn't mean the answer is a hard no. We might be able to meet at 3.8. We might be able to meet at, somewhere with the numbers that make sense. So you bring me the deals that you have that you don't know how to do it, or if you don't know if they're deals or not, we'll get them evaluated. My team will evaluate them. We'll take a look, and we'll get back to you and say, hey, this is a deal. This is something we can go forward with. Let's get an LOI together. Let's get this seller on paper, and we'll start doing our due diligence, because we don't do the hardcore due diligence until we have an LOI accepted, because there's no reason to do it otherwise. And the due diligence period is generally about 30 days for these, and we close 30 to 45 days after, depending on the asset. But the money that I have behind me, we can close in 30 days every single time. So if it's a slam dunk and we're like, all right, we're done with this thing, we just fund it. We look at it 15 days, we'll fund it 15 days later. The money's there, ready to be deployed whenever we say yes.
Nice.
We have guys behind us that they want to put money in multifamily, lots and lots of money in multifamily. So we're trying to find as much of it as we can.
We have people commenting right now in YouTube and Facebook, Jim.
Awesome.
They're saying things like, let's go Cubs.
Yes. Thank you. I had a little run at the beginning. It was ugly, but it's starting to look a little better.
Somebody else is saying here, commercial real estate is the truth. And somebody else is asking what part of the suburbs. By the way, if you have a question you want to ask Jim and you're watching this live right now, type it in the comments and I will ask Jim your questions. I should have mentioned that at the beginning, but somebody else is asking here, David is asking, what part of the suburbs are you from? He's in the Schaumburg area. Yeah,
my office is in Schaumburg. There's a big mall here called Woodfield Mall. It was the biggest mall in the country until they opened Mall of America, but that's where my office is, right by Woodfield.
And somebody else was asking about the difference between, I think we already answered this. How is the marketing different from single families versus large multifamily? And just to summarize it again, I think it's more, you got to get personal, get on the phone, talk to them, belly button to belly button.
It's more niche than general. Like, most of the residential stuff is very general. Like I'll use the We Buy Houses cash postcards, right? Like, so a version of that, pretty general. You send out thousands and thousands of them, which, all of us have done. And it's very effective and it works. But with this, though, that doesn't work for this consumer. They're a little more sophisticated. Even if they're not, sending them a We Buy Houses cash for your apartment complex just doesn't work, because they're thinking like, oh, this guy's just going to rip me out. They're not going to give me enough money. I have a whole apartment complex, and so that's why the approach has to be a little more personal. There's got to be a different touch. Like the initial touch has to be different, which is why we came up with just introducing ourselves as other, apartment operators in the country, because it doesn't have to be in the same area. And we're just networking, trying to meet other apartment, owners that see if we can share ideas and help each other out. Like that is extremely effective.
Good. All right. So how can people get a hold of you?
They just email me. I took, I was, Joe, I was marketing myself. I had a product for a while. I was out there in the eye, and I didn't love it, to be perfectly honest. That's why you guys don't see it, if you know who I am from that MLS domination stuff. So I took my website down. I'm doing deals. That's all I'm doing over here. I'm grinding out doing deals in the background now. And so you can email me. My email is my name. It's jim@jimhuntzicker.com. So that's JIM@JIMHUNTZICKER.com. Or you can call me at 847-772-5302. This is real deals. If you guys don't call me to talk, don't email me to say, hey, thanks. I'm looking for deals. I'm busy over here. We get deals emailed to us constantly. I will help you evaluate deals. Send me deals. I will help you evaluate them. That's what we do. So I'll get it to my team. We'll have it evaluated in a day to let you know if it's an option for us to at least, go to the next step.
What was your phone number again?
847-772-5302.
I will put these in the YouTube and Facebook comments, but Jim@Jim, HUNTZICKER.com, Jim@JimHuntzicker.com.
You got it.
847-772-5302. I just put that in the YouTube comments, and I'm going to do that right now in the Facebook comments. We got another question that came in from a viewer. That sounds weird. A viewer on YouTube. I sound professional now. This is from Joel. He says, I've been working with a syndicator who will fund my deals, but everyone is asking for a proof of funds. I do not have $1 million proof of funds. How do I get around that? He's saying this guy can fund the deals, but like if somebody brings you a deal and they're talking to the owner and they want a proof of funds, how do you help with that? Just
call me. I'll get you a proof of funds so you can put the deal together. Your syndicator should be able to do that. The problem with, we don't do syndication stuff. It's just, I'll bring in one investor per deal to do the down payment, or, sometimes even the guys the funds we have financing it will partner with us. It just depends on the deal. But syndication stuff, that's how that guy lost $200,000 on that deal that I told you about. That was a syndication deal, by the way. Oh, so that dude put up $200,000 from the syndicates, by the way, who all lost $200,000. And so I don't like syndication deals. It's not something that I plan to get involved in. I know it's a way to get, to pool money together, but there's so many other options out there right now that are very easy, a lot easier than syndication deals. There's a lot of moving parts. They're complicated. And personally, I don't love them. That's just not so, because you have so many different people involved. You have people putting in, a couple $100,000 here and there to get to your $1 million. And they're all, I don't know. It's not a deal. I don't love them. I mean, all my stuff is funds. It's, it's venture capital funds, equity funds, guys with lots and lots of money that are looking and evaluating these assets. And a lot of times they want a piece of them. So, and if not, what we do is we bring in one, not multiple. If we need a 30% downstroke, we will have one investor come in as a sponsor, we call it. And so the sponsor comes in and all he is that money. But if he's putting in 30%, he's getting 30% of that deal, by the way. 30% of that deal, the equity is his. So if we pull out $1 million, 300,000 of that is his, and in the cash flow moving forward forever, whatever the profit is, 30% of that is his forever, because he's the one that put the down payment. So, nice. So that's how we're getting these financed. So the person who is giving you the money should be able to give you a proof of funds for you to submit offers with. If they can't, call me and then we'll work together, because it's not working. You need a proof of funds in order to submit off LOIs. The LOI has to come in with a proof of funds, or, a pre-approval of sorts.
Nice. All right. By the way, guys, if you call Jim or email him, make sure you tell him you heard about him on this podcast.
Yes, please
I want
do.
to hear from you. I want to see how you're doing with this. This is so awesome.
Joe, yeah, everything comes back, Joe. I'll let you know what's going on with it. So yeah, please tell me you heard about it on this podcast.
Nice. This is another question here. How small of a deal are you looking for? Is there like a lower limit that you don't want to go below?
Really 90 units is the minimum, because what we're doing in all these complexes, we have on-site management, because at 90 units, you can afford to pay for that. You don't need to hire a management company. So you have a full-time, part-time property manager, leasing agents, and then you can also afford to have a full-time maintenance guy with that many units. So that's our minimum. It's not as much as how much money it costs. It's the unit count. So because at 90 units, whatever market that's in, we can sustain having a full-time, part-time leasing agent and a maintenance guy. So the price is not as important as how many units. 90 is the minimum.
Okay. Somebody else is asking here. I know how to evaluate a deal. Will you keep me in the deal if I bring you a good one? So talk about how you keep people in the deal and do that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I'm here. I'm here to meet people and keep them in deals. I'm not here to squeeze anybody out. Every deal is different. It depends on how much involvement you want. It depends on the deal. It depends on what the structure already is that you've set up. If you've talked to the owner, every single deal is different. But you're an equal partner in the deal. So it just sometimes. So when we bring in, let's just say you bring me a deal. Here, I'll give you a structure. You bring me a deal, and it's a home run. We're in, we're doing it, right? And so I got to bring in a financial partner to put down 30% or 33%, let's call it, to make it easy for this explanation. Well, in that situation, you would be a 33, I would be a 33, and our financial partner would be 33. Financial partner is completely silent. They do nothing else but bring money to the table for us. That's it. We don't hear from them. They don't have any input. There's nothing else but the money, and they do get a 30% equity share with all the profit. And so that's how that deal would break down. Sometimes there's more creative ways to do it. Sometimes they're different. Sometimes there's more partners, because if you have, so just every deal is different, but that's a basic structure. We keep you're a full share partner. Whatever we're doing, I want you in the deal. I'm not here talking about $1 million profit because I'm going to say, oh, well, you can get 2% of that deal. Thanks for bringing it to me. I'm looking for real partners that really want to be involved in the deal. They want to be operators on some level, and we can grow it with you. If you're looking to grow in your market, that's fantastic. The more, the better. So I can't do it all. And that's what I've realized. And so in order for me to grow, I got to have partners that are local in their markets. And so that's what I'm here to do, is meet local operators and keep them in deals.
Yeah, I like the fact that you're not syndicating it out, because you're absolutely right. You get too many chefs in the kitchen, that makes it difficult, doesn't it?
When I was researching, I was getting pushed to that over and over again, like people like syndication. And every time I looked at it, I'm like, I don't like this structure. I'm just not comfortable with it. I've never liked it. I've never done a syndication deal. My only experience with one so far on the buy end is the guy that lost 200 grand. So that sucked for those people. So I don't have good experiences with syndication. I know that people do very well with it. So I'm not knocking it. It's just not a model that I plan to work with.
Okay, good. Well, thank you, Jim, so much. I don't see any more questions here. Jim Huntzicker, and his email is jim@jimhuntzicker.com. That's JimHuntzicker.
Exactly.
And your phone number is 847-772-5302. We'll make sure we put that in the show notes, and it's in the comments here in the YouTube and the Facebook videos. And if you talk to Jim and you bring him a good deal, please tell him you heard about him on the podcast. I'd love to see how this is going for you guys. I'd love to see you do a deal come from this podcast. That would be so amazing. That would be super cool. Jim is a good guy. I met Jim at a mastermind. We were talking about networking before, and Jim is really good at that. And we've been friends ever since, even though he's a Cubs fan and I'm a Cardinals fan. We're still really good friends. Jim is a real deal. He does a lot of deals, and I trust him. I highly recommend him to you. And I hope you do well, Jim, with this. Thanks for being on the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Joe. I appreciate it, man. It's always good to talk to you.
All right, guys. Again, go to the show notes at realestateinvestingmastery.com, realestateinvestingmastery.com. Look up Jim in the search bar, and you will find this podcast and get his information in there. get the show notes, get a transcription of this podcast as well. All right. Thanks again, everybody. Thank you, Jim. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Joe. Take care.
See you guys. Bye-bye.